Okay, Erev Tov.
ערב טוב.
Our two parasha. Actually, it's even 3 parashot we're reading this week. We have the last 2 parashot of book of Shmot. One it's called Vayakel. One it's called Pikudei. Sometimes we combining. We're reading 2 parashot. Why? Because it depends on the Jewish calendar. Sometimes we need to, for example, in Pesach, we will read one Shabbat. We will not read the weekly parasha. We will read parts of the Torah that connected to the holiday. So that's why one Shabbat of the year is not counted. So that's why sometimes 2 parasha we're reading together. And in addition to those 2 parasha, we have the parasha of HaChodesh. This parasha is the part of the Torah that God commanding Moshe to the first commandment that we learned about that, the commandment of the new month and the calculation of the Jewish calendar, that it's monthly calendar, and that we need to calculate and to know when is the new month, and we need to do all the operation. And we're reading that because it was given to the Jewish people in the beginning of Chodesh Nisan, and in our Shabbat is the beginning of Chodesh Nisan. And this is 3 parts, 3 book of Torah that we're taking out this week. What is the story of Vayakel and Pikudei? Actually, they are summarizing the last 3 weeks. What are they telling us? They're telling us that Moshe calculated all the things that the Jewish people bought to build the Mishkan, and Moshe built the Mishkan, and Betzalel and Achisamach, or the other one, I don't remember his name, they were the people that commanded the building of the Mishkan, that they were the commanders, the organizers, the architect of the building, and the instruments. And this is what we're reading. This is the idea. But Parashat Vayakel start like from the beginning to tell us that Moshe gathered the Jewish people and then commanded them to build the Mishkan. Like from the beginning. And the Torah want to tell us something very interesting. The Torah, a little bit in our parasha, describing in one word, describing the situation that Moshe telling the Jewish people to build the Mishkan. So let's see when was it and what was the situation. So we talked about it last week, and we will say it again. The Jewish people built the golden calf in 17th of the month of Tammuz. That this was 40 days after Moshe went to the mountain. After they built it, Moshe came back and destroyed the golden calf and broke the tablets. After that, he went for 40 days back to pray, and after that 2 more 40 days. Again, he went down and then came back. So 80 days after 17 of Tammuz, it's Yom Kippur. In the 80 days after 17th of Tammuz, that this is Yom Kippur, God told Moshe, I forgive the Jewish people. And this is basically the creation of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the first time that God said, I forgive them, even though they were bad. This is the secret of Yom Kippur. This is why we're celebrating Yom Kippur.
And the sign in the book of fortune. So what we'll have it here. So that is from this forgiveness. So we say
The signing, it's in Rosh Hashanah, something else.
no. We have this fortune that we are saying to our whoever friends, relatives, please forgive me, and that goes to our fortune there in this book. That's what I mean. But we forgive each other.
We forgive each other, but it's basically God forgiving on to the Jewish people.
No, but I mean that is the tradition why around this time we tell to each other that I forgive you.
Yes, because yes, it's connected to that. Yes.
Right.
Yom Kippur, it's the day of forgiveness to all to the Jewish people. That in the time of the temple, Jewish people were bringing sacrifice, and then they will all saw how the red scarf turned to white, and this was a sign that God forgave the Jewish people. And it started in the first Yom Kippur in the desert, that God told Moshe, I forgive the Jewish people. But it did not end there. Moshe coming down from the mountain, telling them, God forgive you. But he wants to do something to show your the new connection, the reuniting with God. So what he want from you? He want to build a Mishkan. And he wants you to donate. So everything that we read until now is the commandment that God telling Moshe, and Moshe telling the Jewish people, and this specific way to do it. But in our parasha, the parasha starts Vayakel Moshe. Moshe gathering all the Jewish people together, telling them, God wants to build Mishkan, and this would be the sign that he forgive you. And the Jewish people donate to Moshe very big amount of gold and silver and copper and everything. And in few days, why? Because they showed their devotion to God again after the forgiveness. And okay, when Moshe commanding about the building the Mishkan, he's starting with the words Sheshet yamim te'aseh melacha. 6 days you should work. And in the seventh day you should rest. You should rest. Basically, the word in Hebrew is to stop working. Not to rest, to stop working. What is the connection between those? And this is introduction to the building of the Mishkan. So the commentaries ask, what is the connection between Shabbat and the Mishkan? And even Rashi asking that, to tell us that only 6 days... Oh, this is Chaim, 1 second. Hello, Chaim.
Hello, I was so sure we will start 7:30.
It's okay. You came right on time.
Yeah, by the way, I'm happy the apocalypse. Okay? Hello, everyone.
How are you, Chaim? Everything okay?
Yes, absolutely.
How is the family?
Much better?
Baruch Hashem. Much better?
Ah, yes, absolutely.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah.
So, Chaim, we will go right into the shiur. There is in our parasha the Torah telling us how Moshe commanding the Jewish people to build a Mishkan, and Moshe before he telling them to build the Mishkan, he's saying you should work 6 days, in the 7th day you should rest. Basically, the commandment of Shabbat. What is the connection between Shabbat and building the Mishkan? We know Shabbat. Shabbat is the fourth, commandment in the 10 commandments. What? So Rashi telling us, you should not build the Mishkan in Shabbat. Very simple. Pretty simple. You really want to build the Mishkan because you really want to show your devotion to God. Hello, Abraham.
Hey,
Yes, we hear you.
Shalom, shalom.
shalom. I just want, I expecting a 7th me as well.
I'm sorry, it's my mistake.
Perfect. Actually, 7 is so perfect. Next time, I know.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes. So
Hey guys, nice to see you. Now I'm ready.
good to see you too, Abraham. So the Jewish people want to build a Mishkan really strong. They have a strong will to show that they devoted to God after they built the golden calf, and God told them that He forgive them. So God telling them, you want to show your devotion, donate all the Mishkan, and they donating everything so quickly. That's why Moshe telling the Jewish people, Shabbat, don't forget Shabbat. We should build the Mishkan, not in Shabbat. So that's why we will learn today about Shabbat a little bit. So, what is the story of Shabbat? First of all, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. What? In old times, in the Roman Empire, and one of the things that they were against Jews, one of the things that they said that the Jewish is bad, there were times that they wanted to find reason why Jewish are bad. And they were philosophers. And they said Jewish people are lazy. They have a resting day. In old times there was no resting day. Why should be a resting day? They didn't knew this idea. Resting day is something that we brought to the world. We are a startup nation. One of the things that we brought to the world is a resting day. Once a week, we are resting. And they thought that the Jewish people are lazy. And it's actually exactly the opposite. Jewish people are not lazy. And the Torah do not believe in laziness. And there is many ideas about that. But first of all, when God created Adam and Eve, He told them that you create them to work, le'ovda or le'shomra, to work and keep the garden. He did not create it to play. Only about the Adam and Eve, the Torah said that they were created to work. And this is a motto in Jewish nation. Adam le'amal yulad. A person, a human, was born to work. And actually there is a law that a person that wants to become a Jew, he needs to have education, of course, and how a Jew behave, and he needs to do the mitzvot even before. There is one mitzvah that in the Jewish law he's not allowed to do before he is Jewish. What mitzvah is that? Shabbat. Shabbat. Even though he wants to educate himself about resting in Shabbat, he should, in the morning, turn the light on. Not to keep Shabbat. Why? Because Shabbat, it's something revolutionary in Jewish belief, because a person was created to work. To rest one day, you should not rest. If you're non-Jew, you should not rest. We resting only because God commanded us to rest. And this is the question, why? Why he commanded us to rest? We have to build, we have to create. This is the all Jewish nation. It's about working, it's about creating, it's about building. But before that, there is very interesting thought that we should understand about Shabbat. There is a simple question, yes? Why are we resting in such a way? Why are we resting in such a way? We're resting by not turning the light on, by not going to the beach, by not eating hot food, not cooking food, or we eating hot food that we cooked before, or with riding. Why this is the kind of way that we're resting? It's not rest. This is not rest. So there is a very interesting idea that will give us a new understanding a little bit about the resting in Shabbat. Why are we resting in Shabbat? So the main reason is because, of course, after God commanded us, and this is the reason that we're resting, because God said so. But God explained in the Torah why He telling the Jewish people to rest in Shabbat, because He rested. He created the world in 7 days. 6 days He created the world. The 7th day He rested. God was working in the six days. He had a difficult work. He was tired. And then He rested. No. God said the words. He said, it should be light, it should be water, it should be sun, it should be moon. It's not work. God did not work in the 6 days. God created in the 6th day, and the 7th day He stopped creating. This is what He did. And this is what He wants us to do. A person can work all Shabbat, carrying the table in the house up and down. No problem. You should work. But you should not create. And all the laws of Shabbat are connected to creating new things. To write, to erase, to build new instrument, to use new things, to even to turn the light on. It's creating new thing, total new thing. A lot of things. Everything. In the end, to plant means that you're creating new thing in the world. To fold the paper in such a way, you created a new instrument, new vessel. The things in Shabbat that we not do are creating, and this is first of all in the halachic level. You should not in the simple level of explanation, but it also in a deeper level. There's many stories about Jews with Shabbat. There is, I heard once, there is a very famous book very, very famous, almost in every home. There is that book that was written maybe 50 years ago, 60 years ago, about the laws of Shabbat. Just the laws in a very simple way. And the author of the book is a rabbi that was from, his family were from, don't remember where they were from, but in the time of the Holocaust, they had family in Netherlands. And they got permission to move there. But they moved there. They were from the Ukraine. And they moved to Holland. And they were hiding 3 years in a room that didn't open a window. Family, a father and a few kids. And one time, the father was very ill. He was sick. And one of the kids went out from the house and he got contact with a group of people that were in Amsterdam. They were people, how you call them? Partisans that they were against. And he arranged that they will send him pills that he can take for the illness of the father. And he got the pills in Shabbat. And the father said, according to the halacha, you should not take pills only if it's dangerous. And it's not dangerous, but they told him, now everything is dangerous, take the pill. In Corona times, there is, in the halacha, now there is many rabbis that saying that everything is much more easy to do. A person that have a fast and it's difficult to him, so the rabbi said you should not fast. Many rabbis, because it's dangerous times. Not, of course, we're not comparing, but the father said, I will not take the pill, I will wait. After Shabbat I will take it. It's not a... And after, after a few hours, came a messenger from the partisan to the house and said, you should not take the pills. We send you poison of, we got mixed, and we send you poison to how you say, mouse. And that's why after the war, the son said, I will read book about Shabbat, because Shabbat saved my father's life. And so Shabbat is something very special in all the generation. So, if we read the times in the Torah that the Torah telling us to keep Shabbat, the Torah not start with you should not work on the 7th day. The Torah telling us 6 days you should work, and in the 7th day you should rest. Why? Because we here to work, we here to build, we here to create, as we explained. We here to, in Shabbat we're not creating. We here in the world to create new things. A person was created to create. But in Shabbat, we not stop creating. We stop creating because to create you need to have a connection to something above. When you creating new things, you can be only in the new. If you only in the new things, only in the creation, in the things that you're creating new things, you need to have once a week that you're rethinking what is the source, why I'm creating all the week, what is the reason. In Shabbat it's time to think about creation. This is the connection that God rested and we are resting as God. Why we should rest as God? God rested. Zu gesund, we're saying in Yiddish, good for him. But we need to have money. I mean, he rested because He don't need the salary. Why? What is the connection? So he rested. So what? The point is that he rested, and he created that we should create like him. He created a perfect world, and he wants us to be his partners, that we also create a perfect world. And in the seventh day, we should think about that. We should remember partners, who is our partner. To think about creation, it means what the partner wants from me, that the partner that created the world, what he wants from me. There is a text in Shabbat that we're singing beautiful in the synagogue in Tallinn, that I am not there in Shabbat, but I will come back. But in the synagogue of Tallinn, we're singing Vayechulu Hashamayim, and we're saying it in Kiddush, that God rested. And our sages telling us that a person that's saying that, he becoming a partner of God. What does that mean? Why becoming to become a partner of God? It's so easy. We're just saying this text. So the point is that in Shabbat, if you're thinking in Shabbat about God, that God created the world because he had a reason. What is the reason? That he wants to be, that the world will be his house. And what does that mean? That the world will be a good place, and goodness will be revealed, God will be revealed. And if all the week you're working and building, you can forget why you're building. So if in Shabbat you're saying the text, meaning you remembering the Creator, you're becoming his partner. This is the reason that we saying text of Shabbat. And this is a point of building. There is a story about Montefiore. You know Sir Montefiore. Montefiore was a Jew, English Jew, I think. And he was a very strong, famous, connected, well Jew, that he donated a lot of money to Jews in Israel, and he built, and he was a very big person. And he was, in his time, I think 10 families in England had permission to invest money in the bursa, in the, how you say bursa? You're saying bursa in English? Shares, to invest money. Huh?
Sure.
You're not sure. So I will check 1 second. You're not saying bursa in English?
Donation? Are you
No.
donations?
Stock market. Yes. In the stock market. Huh? You with me? So not all the Jews had permission to do it. But he was very connected. And he had the permission to do it. And he was very good in his job. But everybody knew, and people gave him money to invest for them, and even non-Jews. A lot of his business was that he invested for others. But what so special was about that everybody knew, in Sunday we're not working, of course. In Shabbat he don't work, also 2 days. And in Friday, from afternoon, it doesn't work also. So 2.5 days it doesn't work. In the stock market, that you should know everything that's going on. And even though that he rested for almost 3 days, people gave him money because he was very successful. One time, in Shabbat, his servant coming to him, telling him, this is an envelope from this and that, I don't know, Lord, or I don't know what, a famous person in England that have money in Montefiore, have his money, investing his money, and he telling him, it's Shabbat, I'm not opening any envelope, I'm not working. And he telling him, the boss said it's very important, the Lord said it's very important, you should open. And he said, I'm not opening, I don't care. And this is how it was ended. And after Shabbat, he got again a messenger, you should come to this Lord's house. And he thinking for himself, he will yell at me, I will lose his money, all his friends will left, and I'm done. And he came to his house, and this Lord telling him, from you I got all my money back. So he didn't understand. So he told them, I was sitting with my friends, and they told me that you should not believe in Jews. All your money is in Jews. So I said, this Jew is special. His religion is above everything. So they said, it depends on the price. If you give them the right price, they will forget their religion. So he said, no, I'm trusting this. And he said, I bet all my money on you. How I bet the money? I tell them, I will send a messenger and he will not open, he will not do anything. And that's what happened. And I got a lot of money back from my friends in that bet. So thank you very much. And this was the story. So this is the idea of Shabbat. Shabbat is the idea of thinking on family and thinking of creation. There is a law of Shabbat that we learned to not go outside the city. And this is the same idea, because Shabbat is time of thinking on yourself, thinking of the reason that you created, and investing in your family. And Shabbat, giving back. This is the story of Shabbat. Of course, there is a lot what to talk more. There is another interesting thing in our Parashat, and that's not connected to Shabbat. And I would say a few words about that. It's about clothing. The Torah putting also in our parasha, in all the Mishkan, all the temple, very, very much on the clothing of the priest. And it's very, very strange. What is clothing? Clothing is not the person, it's outside. We all know it. We always, especially in Judaism, we say you should not look on the person, you should look on his inside, what is inside the person. And the Torah invests so much in the clothing. So first of all, we have clothing of Shabbat in Judaism, even not to the priest. We have clothing of Shabbat. And this is a law that you should have a new clothing to Shabbat. You should have new clothing even to pray. And that's why we're putting the suit in the prayer. And you should, a rabbi should not have dirty clothing. It's a law. And of course, the clothing of the priest was very, very detailed. And it's very interesting. And first of all, about clothing in general of the priest, one of the commentaries explained what was in new fashion, the designer wants to say something with the clothing. It's not only what are you trying to say. He's to try to show how feminist he is, to show something, to say something. So the designer of the priest clothing was God. And what he wanted to show, so one of the commentaries saying the clothing of the high priest was clothing of a king. In that time, it was king's clothing, the light blue coat. I don't know how to say it in English. It was not a literally coat, but in Hebrew it's called a me'il. And the noise that the small rings did, you have like a, and it was a king's clothing. This is just by the way. But I would say explain it a little bit from inside. There is a story that happened not long ago. About one Chabad guy in Israel. He was a young guy that went to in Purim to army bases to make happy the soldiers. So they went with Megillah and gave them Homentash and dance and Lechaim and everything. But in that time, it was a difficult time in Israel, and there were threats in specific areas, and no one was going to a few areas that soldiers was there, and he decided with his friend to go there, even though it's a little bit dangerous, but someone needs to go there. So he went, and in one place there were in the middle of the road, they blocked the road, some terrorists, and they start shooting. So the driver decided to go straight to them with the car. They had a big car, and he drove there, and they ran away. But so the driver was saved. He was like that, and it was a very big thing. But one of the members he had a bullet in a very a strategic place in the body, and they thought it was near Hebron, and they thought that he will not make it. And then so came some people, I don't know, to help and to try to drive him to Jerusalem. But it will take them 50 minutes, and they said it will be difficult, that he will survive. But they start driving, and then came a helicopter to take him. Few minutes, he was in Jerusalem with the helicopter, and he was saved. And I know him. He dedicating now his life to soldiers, to bring Judaism to soldiers. Why? What was the story? After he was saved in Jerusalem, in everything in the hospital, they wanted to figure out why came the helicopter. And they found out something very, very funny. One of the people that was there came to help, saw the Chabad guy, and he was dressed for Purim, the Chabad. How he was dressed? Like a soldier. And he put rank like very high level soldier. They thought he was the general, the Israeli commander. So he immediately said, it's code red. I don't know what he said there. You should bring everything. So they sent immediately a helicopter. And that's how he was saved. Because it was Purim, and he was dressed like a very high rank soldier, he was saved. So this is very literal. But in the inside, if we're talking about Chassidut a little bit, So we have the soul inside us. The soul is the core of the person. We have the 10 sfirot, the 10 kochot, the understanding, the feeling, and this is the inner connection that we think we have with God. And this is true. The soul is the connection that we have with God. And the soul feeling some kind of feeling to God of love and fear in a very big way. And the soul also understanding God. But the soul also have clothing. The clothing of the soul is the way that the soul revealing herself inside the body and in the world. What is the clothing? The clothing is action, speaking, and thinking. The inner clothing of the soul is thinking. When a person thinking something, he revealing his soul, his inner side. He can think about something that's not connected to God, and then he will reveal the other part of him. But when he's thinking about something that's connected to God, he's revealing the godly soul that's inside him, and he's speaking something about God, so he's revealing the soul that inside him in the other cloth, the cloth of speaking. And when he's doing some good action that connected to God, he using the action clothing, that this is one of the clothing of the soul. There is other words of clothing in English?
An outfit, you can say
Outfit.
Outfit.
So in Hasidut, there is very special thing about clothing, if we're thinking of the soul, so the core, what is special about the soul, what is important about the soul, it's the feeling, it's the soul itself, it's the 10 sfirot, the 10 energies that the soul have. Alina, I think you know the 10, the chesed, chokhmah, binah, da'at. We talked about it once. Avraham, Matityahu, of course, no. And Chaim. But this is if we're thinking about the soul, there is the soul itself, probably more important from the clothing of the soul. Clothing is only ways that the soul revealing inside himself out, like a person. There is the person himself, and there is the clothing that you wear. Who is more important? The person himself. The clothing is just something that he representing himself, the same as the soul representing herself in the world. But in Chassidut, the Chassidut telling us something very, very, very important. Clothing have something more powerful than the soul herself. The soul itself. In Hebrew, about everything you could say if a female or a male. In English, I think only about people you can say female and male, but about the soul itself, yes? In Hebrew, the soul is female. So, what important in the clothing of the soul that is more important than the soul itself? What is the clothing of the soul? The clothing of the soul is speaking Torah, thinking Torah, doing good deed, doing a mitzvah, keeping Shabbat. When you keep Shabbat, you can keep Shabbat in action, you can keep Shabbat in speaking, you can talk about it, you can talk about Shabbat, and you can think like Shabbat. You're not thinking about something else, you're thinking about creation as we talked. This is the clothing of the soul. When we wearing the clothing of the soul, we basically doing what God asked us to do in thinking, in speaking, in action. This is much more powerful than the soul itself. The soul itself It's something else. It's part of God that inside us, but it's some level in God. It's not God Himself. God Himself is not the feeling of the soul. The feeling of the soul is some level of God Himself, but it's not God Himself. When we doing what God asks us to do, is much more powerful. Because this is God Himself. I want you, Michi, I want you to do this and that. And when I'm doing it, it's much more connected to God than the feeling that I have. And let's say a simple example. There is very important person. Can be any important person that coming to our mind. That we only read about him in the books. And we trying to understand what he's saying. And we trying to look on the world as he looks. But once we had the very, very special opportunity to meet this guy. And we came to this guy. And he gave us a candy, let's say. And he told us, don't forget to put the how you say, the cover of the candy to put in the garbage. Just a simple thing, Put it in the garbage. I will put that in the garbage. And not only that, next time that I will eat the candy, I will put it in the garbage and I will think about this. I will remember and I will do something because he asked me, even though it will be the simplest thing that I will do it even without him. But because he asked me, I did what he asked. I have more connection with him than all the years that I tried to learn his view on the world. Because he asked me personally to do it and I'm doing it. Yes? Even though he asked me something very simple. So, in mitzvot, this is what's special about mitzvot. Mitzvot, it's not only that we're learning about Shabbat and we're learning how special it is and how it's good for the person one day to rest. But in every thing in Torah mitzvot, there is another thing. There is that God asked us to do it. And when we doing what He asked, it means that we just simple people, creations, doing what the Creator asked us to do. And this is a strong connection that every person can have if he would just do. It doesn't matter what he feel. Doesn't matter what the soul feel. Yes? So this is something very special in general in Judaism. How it connected to the clothing. Again, the clothing have some special power over the person himself. And if we're thinking about, let's say as the story said, yes, they thought he's a soldier because of the clothing, but we can take it in a literal, simple way. When a person have good clothing, he's feeling more comfortable. When a person have less, the clothing changed the person. And it's very important. And this is, in our parasha, we're learning about the clothing of the priest, and the Torah teaching us there is something deeper in the clothing. It's not something simple. Clothing have a strong impact. We should not look on the clothing of a person because this is not him. But the clothing can impact the person himself, and the clothing have power. And this is something very special. And as we saw in the high priest also, that he was like a king. And why? Because God took a person and make him more connected with more power. Yes, we can sit in synagogue and the person near us will be exactly the same as us, but will come a holiday and this person will go into the ark and saying, give a blessing to all the people. He's a priest, the priest giving a blessing. Why so special? Because God said that the priest have a special. powers. Okay, so let's summarize what we said. We talked about two things. Talked about Shabbat, and we talked about clothing. Shabbat is something very special. We're resting in Shabbat because God asked us. But what is the meaning of that? First of all, in the simple way, we're not creating, as God Himself did not create it. We're not stop working. We stop creating new things. And also in the deeper level, when a person creates all the week, the Torah wants every person to create, to build a better world, to be a partner of God. But in order to create it and to build and to be a partner of God, you should rest and think why I'm doing everything. What is my power? My power is God that giving me everything, and also we did not talk about it so much, but the Torah wants a person to sit with his family every Shabbat and to be in his home without the phone. In our days, you can be in your home and be outside the home. It's not a problem. You're sitting in home every day and you're outside the home. So without the phone, to be with the family, to be in the house. And when you're thinking why, what is the meaning of creation? Why God created us to work, to build a good world, and one day you think about it, so you have 6 days to do it. This is about Shabbat, and we also explained about clothing. The Torah talking about the clothing of the priest, and in Judaism there is importance to clothing. Why? Because you, in some level, you are what you wear. If you're wearing good clothing, so you're feeling confident. And in the deeper level, clothing of the soul is much more important from the soul itself. The soul itself have feelings and connection to God, and this is actually the part of God that inside us. And inside this part, in a deeper level, there is God Himself, of course. That's why every Jew have the power of God Himself. But in the soul, as the soul inside our body, it's limited. It's limited. Have limited level of feeling of love to God and of understanding of God. But when we doing something, meaning we're using the soul clothes, we're using soul way of communicating with the world, we thinking Torah, we talking good, we doing good, the connection with God is much more powerful than the soul. The connection of God with God is physical, is in our body, and it's one. We're becoming one with God because we're doing exactly what He wanted. This is a connection that we don't have from the soul. This connection from the soul is limited, as the soul in our body, of course, the core of the soul Himself is God Himself. This is 2 points that we learned this week, and I think it's a little bit unusual, so it's good.